Hi there, my name is Rajeswari Ramani. Welcome to Asian Agribase Podcast, bringing interviews and updates for the animal protein community throughout Asia from a trusted and dedicated provider of news, information, and market intelligence. Today, our writer Arif Fakhruddin is speaking to Dr. Xabier Arbe about potential and challenges of the layer industry in Asia. Dr. Arbe is Global Business Unit Head of layer genetic company H&N International.
Hi, Xabier. Good morning.
Good morning, Arif.
Xabier, last year when social restrictions were imposed to break the transmission of COVID-19, we saw demand for eggs skyrocket because first, egg is the cheapest animal protein, and second, people consume it more to boost their immunity. This was the situation with suppliers and consumers. How did the pandemic affect trade and logistics of layer GP and PS to Asia?
Thank you for the question because it's something that it is and it has been a huge challenge to find airplanes to ship the birds. You can imagine that with the reduction of the air traffic, it has been very difficult to find a space in the airplanes to ship the birds. Even we are in a high rank in the priority of cargo. The reduction of the commercial flights has reduced the available cargo space. I can tell you that our logistic team has had a lot of sleepless nights to supply our birds to our customers on time. And not only that, in addition of this challenge that there is still ongoing because we don't have as many flights available as before, we have to add that the avian influenza outbreak in Europe has reduced the places where the birds can ship. But we are very lucky that we have different production centers around the world that has reduced the impact of this latest challenge.
With the two viruses you mentioned, COVID-19 and also avian influenza, what kind of strategies that have been implemented or will be implemented to prevent the same situation for the future?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, this H&N started already a strategy with the first outbreaks of avian influenza, where it was more common to see around the world. And what we did is we created a network of genetic hubs where we can use them to ship birds around the world. So usually our strategy is that we have at least two genetic hubs that can provide to the same country. So if something is happening, let's say in UK, we can ship birds from Spain or from Canada or from Brazil. So that gives flexibility to our logistic, but also gives an assurance to the customers that we will do whatever it takes to bring the birds to Asia in this case.
Two of the top three egg producing countries in the world are from Asia, namely China and India. International Egg Commission predicted in 2030, Asia will contribute 60% to global egg production. How do you see the region's egg industry in the next decade in relation to layer farm expansion and the demand for layer GP and PS?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I have to say I'm thrilled uh, to see what is going to happen in Asia, in the layer world. I'm also curious of how is going to develop the industry in key places like India and Indonesia. That there are countries that I will say that they are sleeping giants. Um, we need to see how is the development of the markets, because you have big players, but also you have big demand, and you have new projects coming in or people who wants to enter the market. So I think it's going to be a very interesting times ahead. And definitely from our side, we are really close to these countries and also to Asia, because I mean, we like to support new players, and I think we can help to compete these new players in the market in good shape and with a good support.
That's the potential about the layer business in Asia. What are the current barriers for layer genetic companies to develop their market in Asia?
Well, I mean, in some places you have different different barriers, like quotas. That would be one of the things that sometimes doesn't allow to the new players to have a important impact in the layer sector. So that's one thing that from the trading type of trading and development of the business, that probably one of the big hurdles. But in the other ways, there are always going to be challenges in Asia, like it could be the health and the climate control. What is going to be two of the challenges to grow the layer business and to really get the full potential of of the modern layers.
If you have statistics or figure about how big the market value and market volume of layer GP and PS business in Asia, please share.
Oof. I mean, right now, I think it's a little bit tricky to give you one number exact, because I mean, we have to realize that the market is divided by those that they have GPs, like China, India, and Indonesia, where the number of the PS is very variable. And then you have the countries that they have PS, that would be the rest of them, where how much they can get out of the PS is very variable, because um, there are too many connections and interconnections between the egg production market and the PS. So business wise, I'm a little bit always reluctant to give numbers, because I always going to be short
Yeah.
or, or too much. I mean, it's that's why sometimes when you, I think it's more about talking about percentages than a business amount.
Yeah. Um, you mentioned about quota system, which is number one of the current barriers for layer genetic companies to develop their market shares in Asia. So,
Mhm.
what kind of strategy, to develop market share in countries having quota system rather than waiting?
Mhm. Well, I mean, it's. I think the quota system is something that is specific of each country. So, as a genetic company, we cannot enter into the politics of each country. But what we try to do, at least with those possible customers or those people who wants to start a new business, we try to explain them how is the situation, what are the challenges that you have to face when you have to create new company, and then they have to work closely, and we try to provide all the support that we can to talk with the authorities and try to explain that sometimes quota is creating barriers for to have more affordable eggs in
Yeah.
the country. So I mean, we cannot enter in the politics, because also I mean, I don't think it's appropriate, and I don't think each country has to be independent, and they have and we respect the decision of each country. Uh, what we can do is we can show examples around the world that they can have an affordable egg with farmers that they are making their own fair share in the food chain, and then they have to make the decision by themselves.
Yeah, I support the idea of having different strains, rather than two or three in one country, because uh, you will give more options to layer producers to choose, and the competition will be healthy also.
Yeah, I mean, the only way that you can be more efficient and you can be more uh, thinking forward is when
Yeah,
you have when you have a competition. When there is no competition, you get relaxed. You get you accommodated yourself of what it is in front of you, and you don't think about how can I improve. Just how can I keep the business. So I mean, we are a company that it's always competing with the big guys, uh, and we like it because it give us the end of being sharp, of thinking out of the box, and that's the one of the things that when someone approaches us and say, "Okay, I want to have a new project," say, "Perfect. Let us know what you need, what you want to do, and then we will help you." Because at the end, uh, I mean, I think as you were describing very well, Asia has still a lot of room for new projects, new ideas, and yeah, why not?
agree. Let's move on to modern layers topic.
Mhm.
What are some of the challenges faced by Asian layer farmers, and how can they address this to improve and optimize the genetic potential of modern layers?
I think the two main factors in Asia, and after visiting so many times different farmers around Asia, I would say are going to be the health issues and the climate control. Uh, we know that there are different diseases that are endemic in some countries, and the biosecurity conditions in Asia need improvement. And at the end, I mean, when I'm talking about biosecurity, I'm also correlated with the second parameter that I was talking is the climate control. I mean, when you have a closed house with good biosecurity conditions, you are going to optimize the conditions for the hen to express the full potential of the genetics. I mean, we know very well is that the comfort temperature of the birds are between 20 to 24 degrees. So when you are having layers at 30, 32 degrees, uh, is going to be, I mean, they will keep producing because, I mean, now the birds are amazing of how much they can do. But definitely, they are not in optimum conditions. So climate control and of course biosecurity from the diseases like Newcastle, avian influenza, bronchitis are going to be two of the main priorities on the way of um, of managing the risk. And the other one that is goes a little bit lower in the category, but it's there because it's part of the concerns. It's always going to be feed quality or the eggs free of antibiotics. But definitely, if you don't do the first two, it's going to be very difficult to worry about the next two.
Okay, so from uh, the layer genetic companies support, they can help by providing uh, good quality layers and also technical assistance, right, for the farmers.
Definitely, I mean, that makes a big difference. I mean, I think right now, uh, all the genetic companies we are working towards a very competitive bird. But again, you can work in robustness, you can work in egg production, eggshell quality. But when you don't have the management there, or the vaccine program, or the housing condition, uh, then you equalize all the good things that you have done at genetic level. So that's why it's very important to have a support of the customers to find the best way of managing the bird with the conditions. Again, as our birds adapt to the environment, we also have to adapt our support to the local conditions. And that's, I think, key on the success of any technical support.
What traits that are currently being researched and improved by layer geneticists, and why are they important?
I mean, you're always going to have, as you know very well, you're always going to have the basic ones like the number of eggs, production. But I would say is the latest ones have gone through the part of welfare and the new production systems. Topics like calm birds, reduce the feather pecking behavior, have nesting behavior, have become new traits in the last 10 years that they were not before there, because of the new changes in Europe and at certain point US, for this kind of going into production of what we call it alternative system or cage-free systems. And one of the new ones that I can give you, so something that our geneticist is working, is on the big structure. I don't for the listeners, nowadays is getting forbidden to make the big treatment. So in Northern Europe. So that's why our geneticists are working of making a big that is less harmful to the other birds as a new trait in this kind of new modern layer.
Okay, I'm also curious to know what is the best number for hen house per 100 weeks in Asia that you have ever seen or heard?
I mean, in that one, I would say is that I have seen very good numbers, for example, in Pakistan, okay,
Yeah.
or Philippines, but also I have seen very good numbers in Thailand or in Indonesia. But again, always depends on what kind of bird you are having and what kind of production you are targeting. For example, Pakistan and Philippines, they're always going to have a little bit more eggs than other countries because they are using white breeds. And white breeds, we know that they are going to lay more eggs, but those eggs are going to be smaller.
Yeah.
So those eggs are not, let's say, useful in a Thai market. Okay, and for example, if you compare, even I remember, and I don't know, I still like that. I remember in Indonesia, the Medan market was looking more for size. I remember that the market in Java Island. So depends. I would say is the best flock is the one that gives you the number that you need, but also the size that you need that you can get profit.
Okay, so it is not about the highest number, but what is the goal of the egg producers, right?
Yeah, and at the same time also you can have a lot of numbers, but you might not have the eggshell. So I can produce 500 eggs, but if I don't have eggshell quality, then it means that those eggs were not sellable. So, I mean, the question is how much profit you can get with your hen.
Agree.
And when you make profit, okay, how can I get more profit? And at the same time, how can I produce in an affordable situation? Because, I mean, sometimes you can produce a lot of eggs, but it doesn't worth because the cost of the production is too high. So at certain point, at the end of the day, is how much money is left in the pocket of our farmers when they use any genetic.
Okay. You touched a little bit about cage-free egg production, and
Mhm.
we saw there is a big buzz surrounding cage-free egg production in Asia also. How does this impact genetic companies?
Well, I mean, the genetic companies have been working in trades, as I was mentioning to you, of cage-free systems in the last probably 10 years or even more, because that's something that it was already originated. This requirement was already originated in Europe, that it's a big demanding area. So at the same time, also, I mean, we have to realize that the worldwide, there are still a lot of countries and a lot of eggs that they are produced on floor systems because there was no economical resources to put those birds in cages. So for some people in Asia or Latin America to say that to go cage free, I mean, they were already cage free because they were
Yeah,
producing it on the floor. So I don't think for some countries it's nothing new. Probably the added value and the new trend in the supermarket, that could be the new thing. But I mean, from our side, as I mentioned, we've been working especially, for example, for the nesting behavior. When you go to this cage-free system, it's important that all the eggs are laid in the in the in the in the nest, and things like reducing the stress levels of the birds is going to be very important. But I would be a little bit careful, especially in Asia, when you are talking about going cage free, because one thing that it has happened in Europe is that the egg prices have increased in the supermarket, not necessarily for the producers. And just give you an example: 12 eggs of cage eggs are going to be around 1.1 euros, but 6 eggs on cage free are going to be 1.5 euros or more. So, from the consumer's perspective, to buy one egg has increased the cost. That
yeah,
you might say is like, okay, from the European perspective, that's not much money or they can afford it. But increases times, it's just like you are doubling the egg cost for the consumer. That doesn't mean that it's always going to come to the pocket of the farmer. So I think we need to put everything in a perspective of where is this uh, movement coming from.
okay. The next hot issue is about sustainability, which is a growing priority for the egg industry. Do you think genetic companies can help layer farmers operate in a sustainable manner?
I think from our perspective in H&N, we are really committed with the sustainability and to maximize uh, what we understand as a sustainability is to maximize the existing resources to produce affordable eggs for the consumers around the world. So, we keeping in mind this perspective of sustainability, we work in two features. The first one is the longevity of the layer. As our customers realize, now we are having in the field hens that they can keep in production until 95, 100 weeks. And, and in that way, what we are doing in just only one cycle, okay, no molting, no strange practices. So that really has a clear impact in the sustainability. And our chief geneticist is trying to find a way to achieve the 120 weeks in only one cycle. I think that's really a way of maximizing resources. And another one that I think is key on the sustainability of the egg production is the adaptability to the local diets. I mean, if we think about in the concept of the sustainability, it doesn't make much sense to bring most of your raw materials from across the world. So we need to work in hands that they can keep producing with local raw materials and local supply. I mean, there's always going to be some raw materials that you might need to bring them from outside, but at least we need to have a bird who can manage local diets and keep producing until, let's hope, that 120 weeks of age.
Okay, thank you very much, Xabier.
Thank you to you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for listening to another Asian Agribiz podcast. Please do share this informative segment with your friends and colleagues, and don't forget to subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcast recordings. See you soon again in our next installment.